Folks, you need to retire early. I believe it is worth it. I believe it takes a lot of work. We're going to have a conversation with Coach Carson, who led a conversation at the Vegas event around what is enough, which I think is an important topic. He's also talked about his best $20,000 investment. And no, it's not a course or a mentorship or a thing, but I will let him explain it. And then finally, we will get into the story of why Coach thinks you need to retire early as well. Coach Carson, how you doing, Chad?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to go back to is I actually shared your hour-long talk from the Vegas event on my channel, and it really hit home with everyone. I shared with you earlier that moment, that story that you talked about, enough, really hit home. And then I hear Dion talk about why people must retire early, and I think there's really a lot of momentum here, and it's really about telling people, yes, it takes work, but you don't have to do it forever. And I think that's just a really powerful statement.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, my first book that I wrote was called Retire Early with Real Estate. And I got a lot of different responses when I put that out there. Some people like, BS, that can't happen. Other people really excited about it. And I get it, but the reason I think it's important, I think people, whether it's a long journey to get there, whether you're almost there, I think it's so important because it's about more than money.
Mhm.
That's always been my message. The message I talked about at your event about having enough was I find that and I say we, myself included, I fall on two extremes. I either emphasize money way too much, the kind of that greedy, chasing money, always more. There's never enough. Go, 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 go. I think many of us are prone to that. But on the other hand, I think some people they get so disenchanted with money. Maybe they think money's just dirty. Maybe they think money's not a thing to mess with. And so they just ignore it, and yet money still controls their life, and money makes them do things that make them unhappy because they have to go work this job they don't like, or they do these things. So my philosophy has always been trying to find that happy medium of money, that place that you have enough where you're not emphasizing money so much that it controls your life, but you're also not ignoring money so much that it controls your life. And I feel like that is freedom. That's options. That's financial freedom, where you then choose what to do in your life because of your values, because of what's important to you, to your family, to what your causes in life. What do you want to contribute? What do you want to do? So it's about more than money. It's a philosophy. It's a, how do you want to live your life? What's your best life look like? And money and real estate happen to be a vehicle that make those kind of things happen.
I think there's two things that I want to hit on that. And again, selfishly, I fall into these camps. I fell into this camp. One is belief. I have freely admitted when I started my journey, my whole goal was to just have a slightly better retirement than, frankly, my parents did. Right? My grand vision was to buy four houses and retire at 65. So living the 40-40 life, right? Work for 40 hours for 40 years to live on 40%. And I thought if I had a four free and clear properties, I would have a slightly better retirement. But and then the other thing that I think is important is I've now come to realize, talking to multiple millionaires a week, is it's possible. We've all come from horrible situations, but we just had to sacrifice for a season. Maybe your season was 8 years, maybe it was 10, mine was 15. But trust me, being 45 years old and free to do what you want, that 15 years was worth it, right? I really I've had the privilege to take some ridiculously expensive vacations, just stupid expensive. And when you do those, you're around other people who can afford to take really stupid, expensive vacations. And you get to know them. And most of them are in their 70s, some in their 80s, and they really can't enjoy it. Just, I mean, we did a European river cruise, which is ungodly expensive. And they just couldn't enjoy it. I mean, we were like, some of these cities that we saw, we would come off the boat, right? We're right in the downtown. It would be like a 3-mile loop that we would do. And they couldn't make it. Couldn't make it. They couldn't see the things that they were thinking about seeing. And I just fear that most people are sold, hey, just work 40 hours for 40 years and then go enjoy life. Yeah, you're alive, but are you enjoying life? Really? How about if you work really hard, sacrifice, side hustle, live below your means, all this other stuff, and then do those things at 45 or 50 or 52 or something earlier? I mean, it's just such a light bulb moment that it's only a season and it's possible. I didn't even know it was possible.
Yeah, 100%. I think that you got to see the vision of what's possible. And I used to compare it to, I feel like when we're 15 or 16 years old, all of us, we have some kind of optimism for the future. We think this is what I'm going to do when I grow up. This is what I'm going to be. This is the kind of things. But naturally, like you go into a job, you go into real life, you go into bills, life happens, things change. You get kind of ground down, and your imagination for what is possible sort of gets pushed aside. Maybe you put those dreams into that box in your head where you're like, that's not really possible. And so you don't even acknowledge it because it's frustrating. And so, yes, being able to do this earlier in life is a worthy goal. And I would also add, though, that there's in one of my missions with the small mighty investor and with trying this approach to real estate investing, that is not an all or nothing. It's not like you have to only wait 15 or 20 years to enjoy life. I look at it like climbing a mountain. The peak of the mountain is like full financial freedom where you have complete options, but there's a bunch of plateaus along the way
Yes.
where you can do all sorts of enjoyable things. You don't have to defer your happiness in life. That's one of the biggest objections I get to saving a bunch of money and trying to retire early. Is like, oh yeah, well, I want to enjoy life now. Like I want to spend my money on now, not just wait until someday to enjoy it. And I say, well, you can have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to just, sacrifice your happiness. You can find other ways to be happy along the way. What I did was I took breaks along the way. I would have a season of, 2, 3, 4 years of really pushing it hard. And then I would take a month or two off where I would just relax. I would go on a trip. That's my $20,000 investment that if you want me to get into that story, I can talk
Yeah,
about that.
I think that's an important story. Yes, please.
So what we did in 2003 or 2003 is when I started investing in real estate right out of college, flipping houses and starting with $1,000. And I just started figuring it out and flipping houses. And that was my job. I eventually bought a couple of rental properties. My business partner and I grew like crazy right before the Great Recession in 2007. We held on for dear life after that. Luckily, we survived financially. Fast forward to 2009, so the middle of the Great Recession, my wife and I saved up about $20,000. It's like 17, 18,000 bucks to go and travel to Spain and South America and just take a break. This is a mini retirement. And I wasn't financially independent. I didn't have enough income coming in. I was still nervous that this thing was going to work with my rental properties. But the thing I did was I saved up money for that instead of a car or something else new. And my wife and I just took off. And it was the best investment I've ever spent, including real estate, including stocks, including, other investments I've made, because it was a time that I remember very vividly. About 6 weeks into this thing, I'd had all that stress and all that go of being an entrepreneur. And it took me 6 weeks to just finally relax and just take it easy a little bit. And for me, the Spanish culture and Latin American culture are very helpful for me with my type A personality. It just helps me kind of enjoy life, long meals, family focus, family orientation. And I finally, on the coast of Spain, just like relaxed, and I felt like a knot in my chest, just like untie. Yeah. And that knot for me is like there's an anxiety and a stress that goes along with growth and pushing it. And for me, I held that anxiety in. And so it was the best investment because it was an investment in my health. It was an investment in enjoying retirement, getting a taste of it well before, I actually got there. So I was 29 years old. And it was also a great investment because I was there with my wife and having this opportunity to spend time with the people you love now and not pushing those relationships off, because that doesn't work when you push it off 20 years. You have to actually invest in those relationships now. And so for all those reasons, like this all fits into this early retirement idea, is that you don't have to wait until you're fully financially independent to start dabbling in this idea of enjoying your life and testing it out. And you can, and the whole point is you have to architect it. You have to have this idea ahead of time.
Plan. Yeah.
You got to have a plan. You got to have a goal. You got to have that vision, like you said, that you have to have the imagination to say, I don't want to wait until I'm 70 or 80 to do that cruise. I want to do it now. but I'll do it a little smaller. I'll do it in a smaller way, in a simpler way. But you start tasting it a little bit along the way, and you get a little bit more and a little bit more, and you get it invigorated. You're like, wow, this is amazing. I want to keep doing this. And that energy you get from tasting a little bit of that early retirement now drives you to keep pushing it and doing those hard things, doing the work like you talk about. It gives you that motivation and energy to actually push through.
So I want to talk about a couple of things because again, I think everyone needs to seek. I guess we'll go here first. I love how you tell that story and jumping out at 29. You were 29 and took a year off, right? You still did stuff. You were still, it's possible. I want people to realize there are seasons. Frankly, you being sold a bill of goods right now, 40, 40, 40, right? Work 40 hours for 40 years to live on 40%. That's a season. That's one hell of a long season, but that is a season. And then the whole idea is the rest of your life, you can do whatever you want. That's just horrible advice. Why do you want to do all of that when you can't enjoy it? Per my experience on that trip. And, my season was 15 years. And Olivia and I did it. It worked. But to your point, and this is stuff I take away from you, the Small and Mighty Investor, Retired with Real Estate, your books, is you can really have seasons. We could have busted our butt for 5 years and then did something to recognize where we were and then do another 5 years. Frankly, one of my greatest misses in life was not spending enough time with Teresa when she was young, because I was all over this freaking earth trying to make a lot of money to pay the bills and build an empire. And I missed, I was only home on Saturday. How sucky is that? Just sucks looking back on it. If I would have had your tutelage, your example, and like, hey, I'm going to bust my butt from 02 to 09. And then at 29 years old, we're going to go away for 90 days, right? We're going to go take the summer. That would have been amazing. So it's seasons, folks. It takes work, it takes effort, but it's not forever. Is that fair?
Yeah. It's like running a marathon. For those of us who have not trained for marathons or ultra marathons, we can't just go out and just sprint that thing, the whole race. Like, we have to take breaks. It's such a, I think we know this. Like, look at nature. You have day and you have night. You have spring, you have winter, or you have spring, summer, fall, winter. Like, everything is seasonal, and our bodies are naturally seasonal. Our minds are seasonal, and it works better. It's to expect yourself to be able to push and grind for 40 years and then actually still have your soul left at the end of it is ridiculous. Like, this just doesn't work that way.
No. And then, so the other thing I want to go back to, because there's going to be a lot of naysayers and negative people that come in the comments on this video because of the title. And hey, whether you believe it's possible or not, you're right. If you don't think it's possible, you're right. For you. I talk to people every week. I have people on the show every week that have done it. They've all gone through their seasons of hard, their seasons of suck, but now they're living, breathing examples. We've had people, I just spoke with Anna Kelly. Her journey started when she was $700,000 in debt.
Wow.
She told a story about her best financial decision was selling the big house and moving in with a fourplex to house hack. Nobody makes that. Anna did. And now she's worth, 8 figures plus. So again, if you believe it's possible or not, that's on you. But you and I are both examples, and we know dozens, if not hundreds of others. It is possible. It is possible, right, Chad?
It's possible, and you have to be willing to do the work. I like it how you don't sugarcoat it. I try to do the same thing. I think it's possible. I think all of you listening to this, you don't want somebody to tell you, here's this easy way to get this thing that you really want, because it's BS. That doesn't work. The thing you want, this options, this freedom, this early retirement is there, and let's just acknowledge it. If you're in a tough spot where you're in a lot of debt, or you have some disadvantages that maybe other people didn't have, like I probably didn't have, acknowledge it. Like, that's true. Yeah. Yes, it's true. And you have the option of now making some decisions to increase your income, to have a side hustle, to save some money, to forego certain things. And yes, it might take you longer than it took somebody else. You have a unique journey, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. That doesn't mean that someone who's in that situation didn't also do that. And that to me is really encouraging. Like, that's hopeful, because it doesn't mean you just have to sit back and just like take whatever society gives you. You can actually, the beautiful thing about the United States, we have a lot of things that they're good and bad, right? The beautiful thing is there's more opportunity today in 2024 than any place I've heard of. I've traveled to a lot of different places.
Me too.
There's a recipe for go-getter entrepreneur people in this country to make it and to make it work. And it takes some sacrifice, but that is a beautiful compensation to be living in this era where we are. And so I'm really high on that. I'm really optimistic on that. And I've just talked to a couple of weeks ago to a friend from Spain. He was a young guy. He's 19 years old. He's in Spain and he wants to be an entrepreneur. And we were just talking about a lot of the obstacles that he faces in that country, the bureaucracy and just starting an LLC and getting money. And it was a much higher obstacle than if he were in the exact same intelligence. He's a same person, just placed in a different place, And so I just want to mention that because sometimes we get so down on the negatives of the situation we're in, but this economically where we are and the opportunity to buy houses, even with interest rates at 8%, even with all the short supply, amazing opportunities. And you just watch this show every day. There's the blueprint, and you read Michael's book, you read my book. I mean, there's a way to do it.
Yeah, it's really funny. Belief is something you either have or you don't, in my opinion. And we're going to see a lot of negative people in the comments. And you're right. You can't do it. Move on. Watch something else. But I actually I hate writing books. I don't know. Writing is not enjoyable to me. But I wrote my second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, because I wanted to document 15 unique stories. We all come from different positions and different stories. And again, folks, I want you to feel this. It's hard for everyone. The first 5 years suck for everyone. It is worth it for everyone. It's your choice. But that second book I wrote because I was hoping people would find one or two stories that they could go back to and read again, just so they could get that belief. And get them through the first 5 years. That was really my goal with that second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, was get people through the first 5 years of suck.
Which is what you did. I remember from your story, right? You read the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, those stories in the back of the book.
Yeah, exactly. The blue and white book, Gary Keller. Dude, they're a page and a half. I consumed those books, or those like 12 pages or 22 pages every day for like 3 years. I just needed to know it was possible. So that's why that book is much bigger, much more meaty, not just a page and a half. But that's all I had. Back in like 2006, 7, when the world was falling apart, I read Gary Keller's, those couple of pages, just to believe it was possible. Because for me, maybe I'm broken, but if somebody else has done it, I think I can do it.
Yep.
Right? I don't think I'm going to do something that's never been done before. That's not me. But damn it, if somebody else has done it, I can do it.
Yeah, it's one of those unspoken benefits that people who have come from entrepreneur wealthy families. Yes, there's some money. Yes, they can go. There's some resource benefits. So I'll give you that. But there's the belief benefit because they have the firsthand experience watching someone do it who is in their family. And I had that benefit. My dad was an entrepreneur. My mom started her own practice as a dental practice. We talked about money around the table. So like I won the entrepreneurial lottery. Like that's amazing. But if you didn't, like, so if you're listening to this and you're like, well, my parents weren't entrepreneurs, they taught me opposite things, or I didn't get any help. They're great people, but they didn't help. You've got to read stories like that. You've got to watch videos. You got to seek out.
Get in new rooms. Get in new rooms. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a big deal. So again, folks, retiring early is worth it. You all need to believe it's possible. It's a process. It's a framework. To Coach's comment, it's a plan. Right. And again, the last thing I'll talk about, back to your story of punching out at 29 for that little mini break. It was you and your wife. You guys were both on the same page, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. She even more so was, I was like, there's a little bit more to do. I need to do a little bit more money. I need to make a little more. And she was like, I want to leave. Like, I want to
Yeah,
take this trip.
you can come with me or not. I'm out.
So I had to like catch her coattails, you know, and say, all right, I'll go with you. Wait for me, you know.
Yeah, wait for me. I got to pack.
So yes, but that was an amazing. If you have a partner, and sometimes that's the hardest piece. You know, I always say like the mechanics of real estate, as hard as they are a lot easier than like working out the dynamics of relationships and being there with your kids or your parent, you know, getting the same page. But that's also worth it. Like that, to me, like having the tough conversations and taking it slow. You can't move fast with people. That's the lesson I learned from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like it, you know, systems and businesses, you can try to work fast, but with people, you need time. You need slow paces. You need to invest in them. And so for me, that was amazing. That was the biggest, the most important, best investment was that relationship with myself and getting to know myself better, but also just with a person who's important to you.
Yeah. And then the last thing I want to hit as we kind of wrap up this important episode, I loved your analogy of the mountain, right? You go up a mountain, I'll call them vistas, right? There's different lookout points. And you don't have to ignore all the vistas on your way up. You can take little mini breaks and enjoy them. Then the other thing that I think is important is when you finally earn true financial freedom, you get to whatever the top of your mountain is, whatever that number is, right? Whatever enough is, life's not over. I don't know about you, Chad, but since Olivia and I got to this point, I am happier. I'm helping more people. Every day is Saturday is real to me. It's just worth it. I would go back and do those 15 years over again to get back here. The 15 years sucked, especially the first 5, but it's worth it. And yeah, it's just worth it.
100% agree. Yeah, it made you who you are. It helped you get to where you are. And I would just offer that, just kind of homework, if people want to read a book. There's a book I read called The Second Mountain, speaking of the mountain metaphor. David Brooks was the author, but it talked about this exact subject, that we go through these first mountains in life where we're climbing financially, climbing our career, we're getting credentials, we're getting Instagram followers, whatever we're trying to do. That's fine. We all go, yeah, that's natural to go for that. But at some point, either early or later, it was probably later for me, then you also start looking for the second mountain, which is about service. It's about character. It's about improving your own life, improving the life of other people. It's just this, there's a kind of a cool book because it went and showed a lot of stories of different people throughout history who've climbed that second mountain. And so I think that's, I'm not saying I got that figured out, but that's an inspiration for me. And it's an aspiration. It's why I'm here and doing Coach Carson stuff. It's why I volunteer in my community. It's why I try to be, as present as I can as a parent, because ultimately when you're on your deathbed, when you ask yourself, like, what really was the thing that moved the needle for you in your life, or what did you regret that you didn't do in your life? I think those second mountain kind of questions, kind of goals are really what are going to matter to us. The money was just a vehicle to get you to those other things that really matter. So that's just some thoughts for everybody.
I love that. You know what I'm going to do, folks, for you? I'm going to go find that book, Second Mountain. I'll put a link below if you want to check it out on Amazon. I'm going to get it because, again, to me, it is about the second mountain. You can have it. It's a plan. It takes a process. It's all of these things. But retiring early, worth it. Chad, where can people find you?
If you look up Coach Carson on YouTube, if you look it on podcast, or just search Coach Carson on Google, I'm there. I'd love to connect with you. And the book, The Small Mighty Investor, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Bigger Pockets, and would hope it'd be helpful for you if you decide to read that.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Michael.